I know when you write about women from previous generations, it's tempting to look at them in in light of our contemporary ways of expressing gender. And given that David Mann was not retiring and rather expressed her very strong intellect freely, more like women now, how'd you keep yourself focused on what you imagine her understanding of gender roles to be without recreating her like a woman today?
So that was one of the more complicated and harder things to write about. I had to, more than any book I've ever written, I had to stay in her point of view. I had to stay in 1948, which is kind of really where the book gets rolling. And then she died in the year 1960. So I had to keep going back again and again and again, like a touchstone, to what the environment around her was at the time. For example, there's a quote that's well known in joy circles that her husband once said, which is, because her husband, as you know, was also a writer, and he said, every writer needs two things to be successful: a wife and a typewriter, and they both must be in working order. Now, I mean, right? I want to slap him in the face. So you have to realize, and I have to remember, that that would have sent me into a rage and probably packing my bags. But wait, did we lose her? Where'd she go?
Uh,
Did she leave?
she came back.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
where did Lee go? And because I was looking at you while I was talking, and then you went away. So we have to remember that she was in a time where it was funny to say that, right? Where her friends might not have even been appalled. And I think too that was part of the problem at first, and I show it with Tolkien in the pub scene, that the other men in England were appalled. What is she doing showing that she's smarter than us? What is she doing showing she can out-debate us? By the way, what is a married woman with two children doing in the pub? You know, there was just a lot of pre idealizing or not idealizing who she was. And so I couldn't ignore that in the book, right? I had to show that she was struggling against that lead just as much as she was struggling against the fact that Lewis didn't yet love her the way that she loved him. She was struggling against this constant belief that she was stepping out of line, that she was stepping out of her place, that she was bucking convention, and in a way that was negative and would hurt her and her children. There wasn't one person, not even Belle Kaufman, who was saying, you know what, you go for it. You save your own life. You save your children's life. I always say that Joy, I think, would have loved the poetry of Mary Oliver and that great poem where the last line is, and then she saved the only life she could save, her own. And so I think it's Wild Geese, but she does not have to crawl on her knees and beg forgiveness. She gets to save the only life she would have saved, which is her own. And so in today, it would, first of all, they would have been emailing each other. They wouldn't have been writing letters. And so I just felt like I had to stay in that time period and keep that in mind.
Sorry.
Okay, there we go.
Oh,
And so that's how I did it. I just had to keep touching the touchstone of 1948, 1950. And remember that every decision she made was unsupported by not only family, but convention and time.
man, wow. Um,